Hey there. Today I'm going to be talking about how to strengthen underactive pelvic floor muscles. In a recent post, I was talking about how to know whether or not your pelvic floor weakness was caused by underactive muscles or overactive muscles. I have another video that talks about what to do if it turns out that your muscles are actually overactive and working all the time. This video specifically is going to talk about what to do if those muscles are kind of on permanent vacation. They are not working as hard as you need them to. So let's dive in. Today I'm going to be giving you 4 different techniques to work with your underactive pelvic floor and increase the level of engagement that you have there. So the first thing we have to talk about is Kegels. Now, Kegels are a really great way for people with an underactive pelvic floor to increase the level of strength in those pelvic floor muscles. Kegels, however, are not great if you have an overactive pelvic floor. So absolutely, Kegels are something that we want to be working with, but we want to make sure that our Kegels are actually engaging the entirety of our pelvic floor. A lot of people talk about a Kegel as just shutting off the flow of urine, and that's part of a Kegel, but the pelvic floor is actually a very large muscle. It goes from the pubic bone all the way back to the tailbone. So it's a broad, big muscle. And if you're only thinking about shutting off the flow of urine, you're missing a lot of different parts of the muscle. So today I want to first talk about making sure that you have balance in the front and the back of your pelvic floor when you are Kegeling. So let's talk about how to do a Kegel first, and then we'll play with the different areas of where you can Kegel. As you Kegel, I want you to think about squeezing, but I also want you to imagine that there is something underneath you. You can think about it like a diamond or a pea or something like that, and you're trying to pull that up within you, just to get that sense of lifting up into your body. So that's kind of the mechanics of the Kegel. Now let's talk about balance. We want to get the whole pelvic floor engaging. So to do that, we're going to work with where our pelvis is positioned. For the front of the pelvic floor, we can untuck our pelvis and kind of come to sit more in the front of our pelvic floor. In this position, we can try to do a Kegel as you're usually taught, thinking about shutting off the flow of urine. That's in the front of your pelvic floor. So here we would take a deep breath in, then we would exhale and we would engage, squeeze, shutting off the flow of urine and drawing those muscles up within us. Now to access the back of the pelvic floor, closer to the tailbone, we're going to take our pelvis in the other direction. So now we're going to actually tuck our tailbone under us. So now we're sitting more toward our tailbone. Now when we Kegel, I want you to think about shutting off the flow of gas out of your anus. So you're going to shut off the flow of gas and also draw those muscles up inside of you. Now you're finding the back of your pelvic floor. Now come back to a neutral pelvis position. So now we're not untucking forward or tucking backwards. We are sitting straight on our sit bones. And now when you Kegel, I want you to, on an exhale, think about shutting off the flow of urine, the flow of gas, and drawing those muscles up inside of you, and try and hold that for about 10 seconds. And what you may find is that the front or the back is weaker than the other side. That's very normal. The more you work with this, the more you can create balance throughout the entirety of the pelvic floor. Second tip is to work with the muscles of the abdominals. Our pelvic floor and our core are designed to work together. So it is sometimes easier to get the pelvic floor muscles turning on by contracting the muscles of the abdominals. It's like they're a package deal. So when you start working with the core, it can help you find the pelvic floor as well. I'm just going to show it seated for ease here. The inhale naturally relaxes the core and the pelvic floor. the exhale naturally engages the core and the pelvic floor. So we're going to use that. We're going to inhale and let everything relax. And then when you exhale, I want you to imagine that you are drawing the pelvic floor up just like we were doing in those Kegels. And now I want you to think about taking that engagement more into the belly. So we're going to take it from the pelvic floor, low belly, mid belly, upper belly. And sometimes using your hands here can help. Inhale, let it go. So as I am engaging, it's a subtle action. I'm not clenching, I'm not crunching. I'm really just allowing the engagement to move up from the bottom of my belly up, and that can help increase that pelvic floor engagement. It can also help to take your hands to your back and wrap them around to the front, just giving the body the cue that we want this transverse abdominis muscle, which is our corset muscle, to start firing. Inhale, exhale, pelvic floor lifts, low belly engages, mid belly, upper belly, wrapping around. And if you're getting the right muscles firing, you should feel nice and tall and long when you do it. Okay, the third tip is just a little trick that really helps you find those muscles when you need them, right? The pelvic floor is designed to help support the internal organs when there is a lot of internal pressure. So things like a sneeze or a cough, or when you're picking up a heavy baby, that is when we want the pelvic floor to be turning on. Well, this trick uses the fact that the pelvic floor naturally turns on with the exhale to kind of trick the body into bringing the pelvic floor in for those sorts of activities. So this tip is really just to use your exhale whenever you are trying to exert yourself. This is a term that I like to call blow while you go, right? So whenever you are doing anything that requires some work on your part, like picking up your heavy toddler, you want to do it on the exhale, because that exhale will then naturally engage the core, engage the pelvic floor, and it will help strengthen that muscle and protect your body from those sudden leaks and issues that often arise in the pelvic floor. So just remember, blow while you go. And the more you can do that in your everyday life, the more the pelvic floor will just naturally begin turning on whenever you start doing something that requires a little bit of exertion on your part. Now, the last tip, I'm not going to demonstrate, but I am going to have another post coming out about this very soon. The last tip is to use a pelvic floor trainer. So what is a pelvic floor trainer? Well, it's a really cool piece of smart technology that basically is inserted into your vagina, and it is able to give signals to your phone or your computer, basically giving you feedback about what is going on in your pelvic floor. So it will be giving you cues to engage your pelvic floor, and it will be able to tell you how long you're able to hold the contraction, how strong the contraction is, and it will be able to help train you to engage that muscle for more time, for quicker pulses, right? Whatever the goal is for you in engaging your pelvic floor, the pelvic floor trainers are designed to help get you there. Now, as I said, I'm not going to demonstrate this today, but I will have a post that talks a lot more about pelvic trainers coming out very soon. So stay tuned for that. So there you have it. 4 simple ways to begin strengthening those underactive pelvic floor muscles. In general, we want our core and our pelvic floor to be able to support us through whatever activities we want to do. And that requires that the pelvic floor is strong and supple. So these tools and tips will help you get there. Please let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for joining me today.